I was sitting in my therapy office on a Tuesday afternoon when my 2 p.m. client, Emily, said something that made my pen freeze mid-note. It wasn't the words themselves that stopped me. It was the exact phrasing, the specific turn of phrase that I'd heard 1,000 times before. From my own husband. "He tells me I'm remembering things wrong," Emily said, twisting her wedding ring. "Like last week, I could have sworn we agreed to visit my parents for Thanksgiving, but he insists we never had that conversation. He says I'm confused, that I need to write things down because my memory is getting unreliable. And the thing is, Dr. Morrison, I'm starting to believe him." My heart was pounding so hard I was certain she could hear it. I'd been a licensed marriage and family therapist for 12 years. I had a PhD in clinical psychology from University of Washington. I taught workshops on recognizing emotional abuse. I could spot gaslighting from the first session with a new couple. And yet, sitting across from Emily, I realized I'd been living with the same pattern she was describing for the past 11 years of my marriage. Let me back up. My name is Dr. Rachel Morrison. I'm 38 years old, and I run a successful private practice in Portland, Oregon. My office is in the Pearl District, one of those converted warehouse spaces with exposed brick and too many plants. I see about 20 clients a week, most of them couples struggling with communication issues, infidelity, or what they vaguely call growing apart. I'm good at my job. Really good. I've helped save marriages that seemed impossible. I've helped people recognize when it was time to leave. I've taught hundreds of people how to identify manipulation, set boundaries, and trust their own reality. But I hadn't recognized it in my own home. My husband, David, was a software engineer at Intel. We'd met when I was finishing my doctorate, at a friend's dinner party in 2014. He was charming, attentive, intellectually curious. He asked thoughtful questions about my research on attachment theory. He remembered small details I mentioned in passing. Within 6 months, we were engaged. Within a year, married. Looking back now, that should have been my first red flag. But I was 27, I was in love, and I thought I knew everything about relationships because I studied them for a living. The early years were good. Or at least, I remember them as good. But as Emily sat in my office describing her husband's behavior, I realized I couldn't actually trust my own memories anymore. Had David always corrected my recollections of events? Had he always suggested I was stressed or overwhelmed when I was certain about something he denied? Had he always positioned himself as the calm, rational one while painting me as emotional and unreliable? I managed to finish Emily's session on autopilot, giving her the same advice I'd given dozens of women in her situation. Document everything. Trust your gut. Consider whether this pattern is who he is or a phase you can work through. After she left, I sat alone in my office for 20 minutes, staring at the framed credentials on my wall. PhD. Licensed clinical psychologist. Certified in Gottman method couples therapy. All this expertise, and I couldn't see what was happening in my own marriage. That night, I went home to our Craftsman house in Eastmoreland. It was a beautiful October evening, the kind Portland does so well, with leaves covering our front yard in shades of orange and gold. David's car was already in the driveway. He got home before me most days. He'd usually have dinner started, something simple and healthy. It was one of the things I loved about him, or thought I loved. Now I wondered if it was another form of control, another way to position himself as the competent, caring partner while I was the busy, scattered professional who couldn't even manage to feed herself. "Hey, babe." He called from the kitchen as I walked in. "How was your day?" "Fine," I said, setting my bag down carefully. I felt like I was seeing him for the first time. David was 42, 4 years older than me. He was tall, fit from his regular morning runs, with prematurely gray hair that made him look distinguished. He was wearing his usual work-from-home uniform, dark jeans and a tech company t-shirt. He looked completely normal. He looked like a good husband making dinner for his wife. "I made that salmon you like," he said, smiling at me. "And I picked up that wine from Trader Joe's. The one you said you wanted to try? Though you might not remember telling me about it." There it was. So casual. So subtle. "You might not remember." A little jab, delivered with a smile, wrapped in the pretense of being helpful. "I remember," I said quietly. He laughed, that easy laugh I used to find so endearing. "Okay, Rach. Whatever you say. Dinner's in 10 minutes. I went upstairs to our bedroom, my mind racing. I needed to think. I needed to approach this logically, the way I'd trained myself to approach clinical cases. But this wasn't a case. This was my life. I sat on the edge of our bed, the one we'd picked out together at that furniture store in Selwood. And I tried to remember the last time I'd felt completely certain about something in my marriage. I couldn't pinpoint it. Over the next few days, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. I started doing what I tell my clients to do. I began documenting. Not obviously. I couldn't let David know I was suspicious. But I started keeping notes on my phone, time-stamped entries about conversations we had, plans we made, things he said. October 15th, 7:30 a.m. David says we're having dinner with his brother Josh on Saturday. I suggest we go to Kennard. He agrees. October 17th, 6 p.m. I remind David about dinner with Josh tomorrow. He looks confused, says we never made those plans. Says Josh is out of town. I check my calendar. The dinner is there. I show him. He says I must have put it in wrong, that I'm mixing things up again. Says Josh told him weeks ago about the trip. October 17th, 6:45 p.m. I text Josh directly. He's not out of town. He confirms dinner plans for tomorrow. That's when I knew. That's when the professional part of my brain clicked into place and I understood with crystal clarity what was happening. David was gaslighting me. Systematically. Deliberately. And he'd been doing it for years. The question was why? What was the endgame? With my clients, gaslighting usually served a purpose. It was about control. Yes. But control toward what end? Affairs. Financial abuse. Isolating the victim from support systems. I needed to find out which one applied to my situation. Or if it was all three. I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through David's computer. It was a Saturday morning. He'd gone for his run, his usual 6-mile loop that took him about 50 minutes. I knew his password because he'd given it to me years ago, back when we still operated under the illusion of complete transparency. Tech Guy 2014. He'd never changed it. What I found made my hands shake. There were emails, dozens of them, to a woman named Melissa Hartwell. They started about 8 months ago. The early ones were flirtatious but plausibly deniable. By May, they were explicit. But that wasn't what made me feel like I couldn't breathe. It was the way David talked about me. Rachel's having one of her episodes again, he wrote in a June email. She's convinced we had plans with her sister that never existed. I'm worried about her, honestly. The stress of her job is really affecting her memory. Her clients don't know they're getting therapy from someone who can't even keep track of basic conversations. Another one, from August. I think I'm going to have to take over the finances completely. She overdrew our checking account again. When I confronted her, she insisted she'd deposited her paycheck, but there's no record of it. I don't know if she's lying or genuinely can't remember. Either way, I can't trust her with money anymore. I sat back from the computer, my whole body cold. That checking account incident, I remembered it differently. I'd deposited my paycheck through mobile deposit. I had the receipt. But when I tried to show David, I couldn't find it on my phone. He'd suggested, so gently, that maybe I'd imagined depositing it, that the stress was getting to me. I'd actually started to believe him. I'd let him take over our finances after that. Full access to everything. I hadn't questioned it because I trusted him, because he was my husband. Because he seemed so concerned about me. I checked our bank accounts next. We had joint checking and savings, plus my business account for my practice. What I found made me physically ill. Over the past 18 months, David had systematically transferred money out of our joint savings. Small amounts at first, $500 here, $1,000 there, then bigger chunks, $5,000, $10,000. The most recent transfer, from 3 weeks ago, was for $25,000. Our savings account, which had held over $90,000 this time last year, now had $8,000 in it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw his computer across the room. But I didn't, because I knew exactly what to do. I'd advised clients through this exact scenario at least 24 times. I knew the steps. Document everything. Secure your assets. Get legal representation. Don't confront until you have backup and a safety plan. Never let the abuser know you're onto them until you're ready. I took screenshots of everything. The emails. The bank transfers. I sent them to my personal email. then deleted the sent messages from his account. I had 40 minutes before he got home. I used every second. I called my best friend, Nicole. She's a family law attorney here in Portland, though she doesn't handle divorces anymore. She does corporate work now. But she knew people. More importantly, she knew me. We'd been friends since grad school. Nick, I said when she answered, I need a lawyer. A really good one. And I need you not to ask me questions right now. There was a pause. Then, okay. Call Patricia Chen. She's the best divorce attorney in Portland. I'll text you her number. Are you safe? Yes, I said. He doesn't know I know. Keep it that way, Nicole said. Call Patricia right now. Like, hang up with me, and call her. I'll call her first to give her a heads up. I did exactly that. Patricia answered on the second ring. Nicole must have just gotten off the phone with her. We talked for 15 minutes. She asked pointed questions. I answered clinically, like I was describing a case study instead of my own life. She told me to keep documenting, not to confront David yet, and to come to her office first thing Monday morning. She also told me something that made my blood run cold. If he's transferring money out and gaslighting you about your memory, he's building a case, Patricia said. He's creating a paper trail that makes you look unstable or incompetent. That's not just about the affair. That's about the divorce he's planning. He wants to paint you as an unreliable witness to protect his assets and possibly make a case that you're not mentally stable enough to have handled your business finances properly. I hung up just as I heard David's key in the front door. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through Netflix like I'd been there all morning. My heart was pounding, but my face was calm. 12 years of therapy training had taught me how to control my expression. Hey, he said, sweaty from his run, smiling at me. What have you been up to? Just relaxing, I said. Thinking maybe we could grab brunch somewhere? Sounds perfect, he said. Let me shower first. We went to Tasty N Alder, one of our regular spots. We ate French toast and bacon. We talked about his work project and my difficult client on Thursday. We looked like any other happy couple enjoying a Saturday morning in Portland. The whole time, I was watching him. Really watching him. Looking for signs I'd missed. And I saw them. The way he subtly corrected my recounting of a story about my sister. The way he suggested I was remembering our anniversary dinner wrong. That we'd gone to a different restaurant than the one I mentioned. Small things. Constant things. Death by 1,000 cuts to my sense of reality. That Monday, I met with Patricia Chen. Her office was downtown, all glass and steel and expensive furniture. She was in her 50s, sharply dressed, with an energy that told me she didn't lose cases often. I brought printed copies of everything I'd found. She went through it methodically, making notes. This is actually good, she said after about 30 minutes. I know it doesn't feel good. But you have documentation. He was sloppy. The email where he talks about taking over finances because you're unreliable? Then there's a clear paper trail of him transferring money out after he gained access? That's going to be very hard for him to explain away. What about Melissa? I asked. The woman he's having the affair with? Patricia looked up at me. Do you want to contact her? I'm thinking about it, I said. I want to know what he told her about me. About our marriage. That's risky, Patricia warned. She could tell him you contacted her. She could, I agreed. But I don't think she will. I have a feeling about this. Patricia studied me for a moment. You're a therapist. You're used to reading people. But this is personal. Rachel. You're not objective here. I know, I said. But let me try. If it backfires, we're no worse off than we are now. She didn't look happy, but she nodded. If you do this, record everything. Oregon is a one-party consent state. You can record conversations without her knowledge. And for God's sake, don't go alone. Bring a friend. Meet in public. I found Melissa Hartwell on LinkedIn. She was 32, 6 years younger than me. She worked in marketing for Nike. She was pretty in that Pacific Northwest way, outdoorsy and natural. Her profile picture showed her hiking. A golden retriever at her side. She looked nice. Normal. Not like someone who'd knowingly pursue a married man. I sent her a message through LinkedIn. Short and direct. Hi Melissa. I'm David Morrison's wife. I'd like to talk to you about him. I promise I'm not angry with you. I think we both deserve to know the truth. Are you willing to meet for coffee? She responded within an hour. Oh my God. Yes, tomorrow, 3 p.m. There's a Stumptown on Belmont. I showed up 15 minutes early with Nicole. We took a table near the back where I could see the door. I had my phone in my jacket pocket, already recording. Nicole sat at a different table with her laptop, looking like any other person working from a coffee shop, but positioned where she could see and hear everything. Melissa walked in at exactly 3 o'clock. She looked nervous. She was smaller than I expected, maybe 5'4", wearing Lululemon leggings and a Patagonia jacket. Very Portland. She spotted me immediately. I was the only woman sitting alone who looked like I was waiting for someone. Rachel? She said, approaching cautiously. Melissa, I said, standing. Thank you for meeting me. We sat down. She didn't order anything. She just sat there, twisting her hands together, looking like she might cry. I didn't know, she said before I could speak. I swear to God, I didn't know he was married. Not at first. When did you find out? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. Professional. The same tone I used with clients. About a month ago, she said. I saw a wedding ring in his car. He'd taken it off and left it in the cup holder. When I asked him about it, he told me you were separated. That you'd been living apart for over a year. He said the divorce was almost final, that you were just working out the last details. I nodded slowly. A month ago. That tracked with when he'd started transferring larger amounts of money. What else did he tell you about me? I asked. Melissa looked down at her hands. He said you had mental health issues, that you were unstable. He said you'd been hospitalized twice for psychiatric care and that he'd stayed with you through all of it but that it had destroyed the marriage. He made it sound like he was this long-suffering husband who'd tried everything but finally had to accept that you couldn't be helped. The coffee shop suddenly felt too hot. I took a breath, using the techniques I taught anxious clients. Count to 4 breathing in, hold for 4, out for 4. Melissa, I said carefully. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I've never been hospitalized for psychiatric care. I've never been separated from David. I didn't know about you until 4 days ago. And I live in the same house with him. I saw him this morning. He kissed me goodbye and told me he loved me before he left for work. The color drained from her face. What? He's been gaslighting me for years, I said, making me question my own memory and perception. He's been systematically transferring money out of our accounts. And he's been telling you I'm mentally ill to explain why you can never come to his house or meet his friends or family. Because they'd tell you the truth. That he's still very much married to a perfectly sane woman who had no idea he was having an affair. Melissa started crying. Not delicate tears. Actual sobbing. Nicole glanced over, concerned, but I gave her a small shake of my head. Let it happen. I'm so sorry, Melissa gasped. I'm so sorry. I would never. If I'd known. I know, I said. And I believe you. That's why I wanted to meet you. I don't think you're a bad person. I think you're another one of his victims. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. What are you going to do? I'm going to divorce him, I said simply, and I'm going to make sure he doesn't get away with what he's done financially. But I need your help. I need you to be willing to testify about what he told you. About the lies he fed you regarding my mental state. Yes, she said immediately. Absolutely. Whatever you need. And I need you to not tell him we met, I said. Not yet. I'm not ready to confront him. When I do, I want all my ducks in a row. She nodded, wiping her eyes with a napkin. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why aren't you angry with me? She asked. If I found out someone had been sleeping with my husband, I'd want to kill her. I considered that. A month ago, I might have felt that way. But I've spent the last 4 days learning how to stop trusting my initial emotional reactions to things. David made me doubt myself so thoroughly that I don't even trust my own anger anymore. The only thing I'm sure of is what I can prove. And what I can prove is that he's a liar and a manipulator. You believed his lies. That doesn't make you complicit. It makes you human. We talked for another 30 minutes. She gave me her phone, showed me text messages where David had talked about dealing with his ex-wife's crazy demands about the divorce settlement. Messages from times when I was literally at home, cooking dinner, or watching Netflix, with no idea there was supposed to be a divorce happening. Melissa let me screenshot everything. When we parted ways, she hugged me. I hope you destroy him, she whispered. I really do. I don't want to destroy him, I said honestly. I just want the truth to come out. And I want what's mine. That night, David came home with flowers, white roses, my favorites. Or at least, what he'd decided were my favorites years ago. I couldn't actually remember if I'd ever told him I loved white roses or if he'd just started bringing them and I'd accepted it as truth. What's the occasion? I asked, taking them. No occasion, he said, kissing my forehead. Just wanted to remind my beautiful wife that I love her. I put the roses in water. I made dinner. We ate together at our dining room table like we did every night. We talked about our days. I told him about a difficult client. He told me about a bug in his code that was driving him crazy. We watched an episode of a show we were binge-watching. We went to bed. He fell asleep next to me, one arm thrown across my waist like always. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how many nights I'd spent like this, sleeping next to a stranger who'd been systematically dismantling my sense of reality, feeling grateful for his presence when I should have been running. The next morning, Patricia called me. I've been going through the financial records you sent. I'm seeing a pattern of transfers that correspond with market trading activity. Did you know David has a separate brokerage account? No, I said. I was at my office between clients. I knew about our joint accounts and my business account. That's it. He's been day trading, Patricia said. And losing. Badly. I'm seeing losses of over $60,000 in the past year. That's where your savings went. He's been chasing losses, trying to make back what he'd already lost. So it wasn't just the affair. It was gambling. Financial recklessness. And he'd been covering it up by making me think I was the one who couldn't be trusted with money. I want to confront him, I said. Not yet, Patricia said firmly. We need to freeze the accounts first. I'm filing an emergency motion tomorrow morning. By noon, he won't be able to move another dollar. Then we can confront him, but we do it right. With me there. With documentation. Not in your home. Somewhere public where you're safe. She was right, of course. But the waiting was excruciating. I went through my days in a fugue state, seeing clients, listening to their problems, giving advice I wasn't sure I was qualified to give anymore. How could I help people with their marriages when I'd been so blind in my own? On Thursday, Patricia called. Motion approved. All accounts frozen as of 1 hour ago. David tried to make a transfer this morning. It was declined. He's going to know something's up. My phone rang almost immediately after I hung up with Patricia. David. Hey, I answered, keeping my voice normal. Did you do something to our bank accounts? He asked. There was an edge to his voice I'd never heard before. I tried to move some money and it says the account is frozen. I don't know anything about that, I said. Maybe you should call the bank? Rachel, don't play games with me, he said. This is serious. I need access to those accounts. For what? I asked. There was a pause. For bills. For our mortgage. For normal life expenses. We have plenty in checking for that, I said calmly. Why would you need to access savings? Another pause. Longer this time. You did this. You froze the accounts. If they're frozen, it's not by me, I said. Like I said, call the bank. I have a client in 5 minutes. I have to go. I hung up, my hands were shaking. Nicole was right. This was the most dangerous time. When he realized he'd lost control, Patricia had arranged for me to stay with Nicole that night. We had a plan. Tomorrow, Friday, we'd meet David at Patricia's office at 2 p.m. Patricia had already sent him a formal notice through his work email. We'd confront him there, with my lawyer present, with everything documented. I'd already moved my important documents and some clothes to Nicole's place. But I didn't expect David to come to my office. He showed up at 1 p.m., walking right past my receptionist. She tried to stop him, but he ignored her. I was alone. My next client wasn't for another hour. He opened my office door, and the look on his face made my heart stop. You think you're so smart, don't you? He said, closing the door behind him. Dr. Morrison. The big therapist. The expert on relationships. And you didn't see this coming at all. I reached for my phone. He was faster. He grabbed it from my desk. We're going to talk, he said. Really talk. Without you running to your lawyer or your friend Nicole. Just you and me. Like a married couple should. This was exactly what Patricia had warned me about. Never be alone with him once he knows. But here I was. Alone in my office. With a man I suddenly didn't recognize. David, I said, using my therapist voice. Calm. Soothing. You're upset. I understand. But this isn't the place for this conversation. Put down my phone and let's meet tomorrow at your lawyer's office. He interrupted. Yeah, I got that message. Very professional. Very cold. After 11 years of marriage, you can't even tell me to my face that you want a divorce? You have to send your lawyer after me like I'm some kind of criminal? You stole from me, I said quietly. You lied to me. You gaslit me for years. You had an affair and told your mistress I was mentally ill. What exactly should I have done, David? Made you breakfast and politely asked for a divorce over eggs? He laughed. Actually laughed. Melissa told you. Of course she did. Women always stick together, right? Did she tell you she came onto me? That she pursued me. She told me you said we were separated, I said. That you told her I was unstable and we were divorcing. Because you are unstable, he shouted. You can't remember basic conversations. You can't keep track of money. You signed off on me handling our finances because you know you can't be trusted. And now you're rewriting history, making me the villain because I tried to protect us financially while you were too busy playing therapist to other people to notice your own life falling apart. There it was. The gaslighting in real time. Even now, knowing exactly what it was, feeling myself react to it. That tiny kernel of doubt. Was he right? Had I been so focused on my clients that I'd neglected my own life? No. I had the emails, the bank records, Melissa's testimony. The truth wasn't subjective. Get out of my office, David, I said. Or what, he asked. You'll call security? Go ahead. Call them. Tell them your husband came to talk to you. See how crazy that makes you sound. But I wasn't calling security. I was pressing the panic button under my desk. The one connected directly to Portland police. The one I'd installed 2 years ago after a client's abusive ex had shown up making threats. I'd never had to use it before. It took 4 minutes for 2 officers to arrive. 4 very long minutes of David ranting about how I'd ruined everything, how I'd stolen his money, how I was going to regret this, how he'd make sure everyone knew what I really was. Unstable. Incompetent. A fraud playing therapist while my own life was a disaster. When the officers walked in, David immediately switched. Became the concerned husband. Thank God you're here. My wife is having an episode. She's not thinking clearly. I came to check on her and she... Sir, one of the officers interrupted. We need you to step outside. They'd been briefed. Patricia had called them yesterday, given them a heads up that there might be a situation. They'd seen the protective order she'd filed that morning, the one I hadn't told David about yet. They escorted him out. Read him the protective order. Explained he needed to stay at least 100 yards away from me and my office. I watched through my window as David's face transformed, the mask finally slipping completely. Pure rage. I called Patricia. He showed up at my office. I know, she said. The police just called me. Are you okay? I'm fine, I said. I'm going to Nicole's. Good, stay there. Don't go home. Don't go anywhere alone. I mean it, Rachel. I spent that night at Nicole's, drinking wine and crying. Not sad crying. Angry crying. Relieved crying. The kind of crying that comes when you finally stop holding everything together and let yourself fall apart. You did everything right, Nicole kept saying. You were so smart about this. You got evidence. You got help. You didn't confront him alone. I almost did, I said. If I hadn't had that panic button. But you did have it, she said firmly. Because you're careful. Because you're smart. Stop second-guessing yourself. That's what he wants. Even now, he's still in your head, making you doubt. She was right. But knowing it intellectually and feeling it emotionally were 2 different things. The divorce took 8 months. David fought everything. Claimed the money he'd taken was for investments on behalf of our marriage. Claimed the affair was a separation that I'd agreed to. Claimed I was mentally unstable and couldn't be trusted with our assets. But we had Melissa's testimony. We had the emails where he called her from our home phone while I was at work. We had the trading records showing his gambling losses. We had everything. In the end, I got the house. He had to repay what he could of the money he'd lost, though we both knew I'd never see most of it. He lost his job at Intel after word got around about what he'd done. Turned out, lying to your therapist wife about her mental state while embezzling from your joint accounts and conducting an affair doesn't play well in company culture surveys. But the hardest part wasn't the divorce. It was learning to trust myself again. I started seeing my own therapist, Dr. Helen Park. She specialized in treating trauma and gaslighting victims. It felt strange, sitting in the client chair after so many years on the other side. But I needed it. You're going to have moments, Dr. Park told me in our third session, where you question everything, where you wonder if you overreacted. If maybe David was right about some things. That's normal. That's the legacy of gaslighting. But it doesn't make it true. She was right. I did have those moments. Still do sometimes. But they're getting fewer and farther between. 6 months after the divorce was final, I did something I'd been thinking about for a while. I started a support group at my practice specifically for people who'd experienced gaslighting and emotional manipulation in relationships. It meets every Tuesday evening. We have 12 regular members now. I don't lead it as a therapist. I participate as someone who's been through it. It helps, both them and me. Emily, my client who'd inadvertently triggered my realization, is in the group now. She left her husband 3 months ago. She's doing okay. We're all doing okay. I still practice therapy. I'm still good at it. Maybe better now because I understand on a visceral level what my clients are going through. I don't just know the clinical terms anymore. I know what it feels like to question your own reality. To wonder if you're the crazy one. To finally see the truth and feel both liberated and devastated. Last week, I had a consultation with a new client. She was in her early 30s, a lawyer, successful and articulate. She told me her husband had been expressing concern about her memory lately, suggesting she write things down, questioning her recollection of conversations. I listened carefully. I asked specific questions. I didn't jump to conclusions. But I gave her the same advice I wish someone had given me years ago. Trust yourself, I said. Document everything. And pay attention to patterns. 1 or 2 memory lapses is normal. A sustained pattern of your partner telling you you're wrong about things you're certain about? That's not normal. That's something else. She nodded, taking notes. She'd be okay. Or at least, she'd have the tools to figure out if she needed to be okay away from her husband rather than with him. As for me? I'm still in our old house in Eastmoreland. I thought about selling it, starting fresh somewhere new. But this is my house now. Not our house. Mine. I had it repainted. Bought new furniture. Filled it with plants and books and art I chose myself. Some mornings, I still wake up and forget for a second that David is gone. Then I remember, and I feel this rush of relief so intense it's almost dizzying. I'm not dating. I'm not sure when I'll be ready for that. Maybe soon. Maybe never. I'm okay with either outcome. For the first time in 11 years, I'm the only person I have to check with about my own feelings. The only person whose reality I have to validate is my own. And I trust myself now. Finally. Completely. That's the real victory. Not the divorce settlement or the house or even the justice of David facing consequences for his actions. It's the fact that when I remember something, I believe my own memory. When I feel something, I trust that feeling. When I know something, I don't let anyone tell me I'm wrong. That's what he couldn't take from me in the end, no matter how hard he tried. Me. The real me. The one who knew all along that something was wrong.
Some days feel off. Like I'm standing but still falling. A little pain, a little tired, and no one to tell it all to. There are days that feel unsteady, like I'm drifting out of place. Every step just feels so heavy, with a smile I have to fake. A little hurt I keep inside me, a little weight I always hide, and 1,000 quiet worries I've been holding deep inside. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. I keep walking through the silence like it's all I've ever known. Every crowded room reminds me how it feels to be alone. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. Maybe one day I'll be stronger, maybe I'll learn how to speak, but for now I keep it buried in the parts of me too weak. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. I'm freezing, I'm bleeding, slowly fading away. But don't worry, I'm fine. The cold has settled in my heartbeat, like winter living in my veins. Every breath feels numb and fragile, every smile just hides the pain. I'm breaking quietly in silence, falling slow without a sound. Yet I keep saying I'm okay, while my world burns to the ground. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. Maybe pain just learned to live here, maybe sorrow feels like home. So I wear my wounds like armor and survive them all alone. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. If you ever see me smiling, no, it's just my last defense. 'Cause sometimes love means hiding how much you're suffering. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. It's okay.